Hello, and thank you for watching the 2022 Fall Legislative Forums, hosted by the Ashland Chamber of Commerce. I'm Gary Blake, President of the Ashland Chamber, General Manager for Recology Ashland, and Chair of the Chamber Legislative Committee. Moderating the discussion with me is Ann Robison, Chamber Board Member and co-owner of the Crown Jewel. Today, we will be introducing Pam Marsh, running for Oregon State Representative as an incumbent. Her opponent did not respond to this invitation. Each election year, the Ashland Chamber hosts legislative forums. This year, we are also hosting forums in addition to City Council for Parks Commissioners, Jackson County Commissioners, State Representative, and State Senator. The forum is being recorded and will air on local community television, the RVTV website, and the Ashland Chamber's website, along with additional election information at ashlandchamber.com. A few words about what the Ashland Chamber of Commerce is and what we do. The Ashland Chamber and Travel Ashland work year-round to improve the economy, support our businesses, and enhance the quality of life. Over 450 businesses are members of the Chamber, representing thousands of employees and jobs. We are a nonpartisan, private, nonprofit, mutual benefit corporation providing forums such as these featuring candidates for elected office. We do not have a political action committee or endorse any candidate for any race. We have many strong community partners in addition to our businesses, including SOU, the Ashland School District, OSF, Asante Ashland Community Hospital, and of course, the City of Ashland. We organize, fund, and coordinate the long-standing and beloved community parades and celebration, including the 4th of July, Children's Halloween Parade, and the Festival of Lights celebration, including lighting and decorating the entire town and Santa's parade. The tourism branch of the Ashland Chamber is Travel Ashland, that inspires, attracts, and welcomes visitors from year-round multi-platform marketing campaigns. In the last few years, Travel Ashland has rebranded and is successfully expanding into new markets and attracting new visitors in the outdoor, wine, and culinary tourism segments, garnering strong engagement in key markets on the West Coast and beyond. The Chamber is the lead economic development agency for new and expanding businesses. We have just completed an economic diversification research and analysis study that will lead Ashland forward to tackle economic issues and create new initiatives. Finally, the Chamber serves as the main point of contact for businesses looking for assistance with expansion, relocation, problem mitigation, and resource connections. Regarding the format for today's forum, Pam will have a 2-minute opening statement to discuss why she is running for the position and what skills and accomplishments qualify her to again serve as an Oregon elected official. Following the opening remarks, she will be asked a series of questions with 3 minutes to respond. A bell will ring when she has 30 seconds and then 10 seconds remaining. Follow-up questions will be kept at 2 minutes. If there is time, she can give a 2-minute closing statement, but must adhere to the time restraint. Additionally, each candidate had to sign a consent form in order to participate. We require that the candidates refrain from any form of speech that includes profanity, obscenity, hate, racism, or vulgarity, or that is insulting or offensive to any ethnic, religious, political, or other identifiable group or individual, as determined by the forum moderator. A violation of this rule will cause the candidate to be removed from the forum. We expect and will insist on respectful behavior. If time allows, we may have follow-up questions, in which case there will be 2 minutes to respond, again using the bell system. So with that, let's go ahead and kick it off, Ann.
Oh, for your opening statement, tell us why you're running. Briefly discuss your skills and accomplishments that qualify you to serve as an Oregon State Representative.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Gary. I'd just like to start off with appreciation for the Chamber for pulling this together. It's a tremendous opportunity to be able to share viewpoints with the community, and I'm very grateful that you've stepped up to do this and do it year after year. So thank you. Let's start there. I am running for my 4th term in the Oregon legislature. I was first elected in 2016 after 4 years as an Ashland City Council. The district, just to orient, goes from the Klamath County line through Ashland, Talent, Phoenix, a little corner of Medford, Jacksonville, and the Applegate. So it's a meandering district above the California border. I have been proud to represent this district, particularly in the last 2 years. This has been a hard time for us. We've had pandemic, and then 2 years ago we had a wildfire which coursed through our community, and in my district destroyed 2,500 homes, displaced thousands of people, many of whom still have no permanent home in the community. So my focus in particular over the last couple of years has really been trying to bring resources to our community so that we can begin to recover and to get back to where we were 2 years ago, and to bring everybody back to the community who wants to be there. And that work is very much an ongoing process right now. So a primary reason why I chose to run again is because I feel like we need to follow through with the wildfire recovery work, and we need to look at the issues that are associated with that, meaning primarily housing and the lack thereof. We were a housing impacted community before we ever had a wildfire, and then we lost 2,500 homes. We need to look at the underlying factors that are driving these wildfire experiences, primarily meaning climate change on the ground. We know that wildfires have a number of instigating factors, but there's no question that climate change, the lack of snow, the lack of moisture, the dried out ground is driving these conditions. And we need to look at how to keep our communities as safe as possible. We need to look at important work that we can do in our adjacent forests to keep us safe. We need to look at how we can bring state resources to help people do defensible space in their own communities. So those are the issues that drive me and the reason that I chose to run again.
Thank you. Okay, we'll turn to our questions now. And these first couple of questions, you'll have 3 minutes to respond to each one of these. What are Oregon's strengths, and how can we build upon them to foster economic vitality?
Well, I think we have many strengths, and let's start with a strong sense of independence. Here in Oregon, we were the first state on a lot of different fronts. We were the first state to have an initiative process, a process that still drives policy for better or for worse in many cases. We are a state that I think has really promoted a strong sense of independence among our residents. We are a state that has abundant natural resources. We have forests, we have water, we have had water resources. That's a little more, we're a little more struggling on that front now. But certainly the abundant natural resources have really driven what we've been able to produce within this state. So in terms of economic development, I think certainly our traditional sectors of agriculture and forestry, and as we look toward the future, different kinds of forestry products such as mass timber will continue to be significant for us. We've seen an increasing interest in the tourism sector as people come to see what it is that we have to offer here in Oregon, which is pretty spectacular in many cases. And then we have a growing high-tech sector. You see that in particular in Portland, but not only in Portland, certainly in other places across the state where we're starting to see more and more development of high-tech sectors with really good jobs. So to support all of this, we have to really be investing in our higher education system. As a state, we need to be looking at ways that we can support communities as they transition from traditional dependence on natural resources that may not be as robust or abundant in the same ways they were in the past. We need to help those communities move toward a different economic development base. And we need to understand that we need to bring every Oregonian along in all of this. We need jobs that will support people in very rural places. We need jobs that will support people in Portland. We need to make sure that all Oregonians have a way to make a living, a way to support a family, a place in a community.
Great, thank you.
Next question. As a state representative, what do you think will be your biggest challenges and how do you hope to solve them?
Well, as noted earlier, we've been through a particularly difficult period. We've had a pandemic, we've had wildfires across the state, and I think there are issues that are certainly front and center for me that have come out of those experiences. We still have a lot of post-pandemic recovery to do, making sure that business sectors are back on their feet. We saw some unintended, unexpected consequences in the form of resignations and other now inflation burdens that are being that have been need to be absorbed by community businesses. So really supporting those businesses to get stable again is a big part of what we need to do. I just completely lost track of the question. Would you repeat the question?
No problem. So what do you think will be your biggest challenges as a state representative?
Thank you. I started talking about the pandemic and lost the bigger question. The big issues that I am focused on in the next couple of years are, again, wildfire recovery, making sure that we continue to bring resources to the community. We still have hundreds of people who are living in hotels, FEMA trailers, and we need to make sure that they get permanent, stable homes and that we bring back the businesses that were also displaced. We need to look at housing in general. We are, again, a community that has had a significant housing problem, and we see that statewide as well. Statewide, we are missing about 140,000 housing units. That means that we should have close to 150,000 more units than we have now. And that includes units for people who are looking for housing as well as housing units for people who are on the street. So a tremendous amount of work we need to do around homelessness and housing. I think we need to start looking at ways to approach this whole arena in a more innovative way. I'm putting together, for example, a proposal that would really put money into the development of modular housing factories across the state. The next time we have a natural disaster, we can't wait years to get people back into houses. We have to have ways to produce housing more quickly and to get it on the ground. I think modular housing could be a big part of that. The third big area that I'll be working on is, again, climate change. I said as chair of the House Energy and Natural Resources Committee, we passed in 2021 a landmark piece of legislation. It was called House Bill 2021. It puts the state on a course toward 100% renewable electricity by the year 2040. That's significant, but this electricity sector is really only about 25% of our greenhouse gas emissions. So we are now looking at the next big sectors. That's transportation, in particular it's buildings. Our existing and new buildings to come use up about a third of our greenhouse gas emissions. We need to have energy efficiency strategies, decarbonization strategies to not only save people money on their energy, but also to keep them more comfortable as conditions continue to change and we get these smoke infusions and ongoing heat periods. So those are the big areas that I expect to be working on in the next years.
Great, thank you. For this next question, we have reserved as much as 5 minutes for answers, so a little longer if you need that. How do you see Oregon overcoming our financial challenges? And what are your priorities and how do these impact our region?
Well, my priorities are really as described earlier. They're really about wildfire, they're really about housing, and they're really about climate change. And I think all of those drive our economic well-being in the state as well. When I talk to our business owners who are in many cases struggling to get back on their feet after the pandemic, the issue that I hear most and foremost is what are we going to do about getting people into work? Because we had a lot of people leave the workforce. There were mass retirements from people out of the workforce. And we know that that's affected the ability of of business owners to keep their doors open in many cases. But the other big issue there is the ability to recruit from out of state. We know that Oregon has depended in the past upon the immigration of particularly young educated people into the state to take some of our good jobs. We need those people, and right now our growth rate is dropped below 1%. We're looking at about 0.8% growth rate. That's a combination of the demographics. People are dying off. We have an older population. And the fact that we are not seeing as much influx of young people from different places across the state. One of the reasons and a common factor in all of these is the housing issues that we have on the ground. When you can't bring people in, you can't recruit them because they can't find the housing that's going to work for them, or when our service workers or our agricultural workers can't find housing that they can afford to be in, what happens? They leave the community, and we lose the ability to draw on those people as part of our economic development. So I continue to believe that housing is a huge issue that we have to address, and we have to take this on in the most robust way possible. We have to aim, I imagine a big thermometer on the wall in the governor's office with that 140,000 units that we need, and we'll just keep working until we ratchet that number down so that all people have some kind of house. And we have the ability for people to participate in our communities. Another significant issue I think we need to be looking at is clearly education. Our ability to drive our economic development of the state depends on people coming out fully ready to participate in local economies. We have had a goal in the past of 40-40-20, that is that 40% of Oregonians should have a 4-year college degree, 40% should have a 2-year college degree, and 20% should have good high school education and be ready to participate in the community. We're falling short on those goals because as a state we have failed to invest in higher education. So it is high on my priority list to turn that around. We need to make sure that universities like Southern Oregon University, which is our neighboring university, we sit here today, really have the resources that they need to be able to serve students, and not only to serve students, but to serve the diversity of students that we know need to come into the workforce, as well as people who are currently in jobs in the community and need to have the opportunity to develop new skills or move to new positions. So these are some of the big issues that I think we'll be looking at over the next couple of years.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, now you have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and please note we may not have time for closing statements if follow-up questions exceed the allotted student. I think we have time for your closing statement.
Okay. I would just say I have been honored to serve this community in the state legislature. This is a community that expects a lot of its elected officials. I try to respond to that by being deeply engaged with the community and being responsive to people who contact me. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We've been in hard times. We are seeing a community that is being changed by conditions external to us. There is no question that wildfire and our growing understanding of what climate change means is a little scary. We're at a little bit of an existential moment. And yet my message around all that is that we can control our own future, right? We can take smart, strategic actions to address drought. We can look at our water systems and make sure that they are adequate for what we need for both municipal purposes and for agricultural purposes. We can take smart wildfire protection actions, both in the forests that back our communities and within our own communities and around our own homes. But we need to pull together to do all of this work, and we need to make sure that we have state resources and state leadership that is supporting us as we really tackle the existential questions that are facing us. So I'm honored to have the job. If I am reelected, I will continue this work to try to bring resources to the community, to try to help the community really recognize the challenges that are in front of us, and to help us again all understand that we can do anything together. We can pull together. We are smart, we are resourceful, we are resilient, and we will continue to maintain this community as a place where people want to be and people want to raise their families.
Very good. Well, Representative Pam Marsh, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon, and I want to thank the RVTV crew for their help, and also I want to thank all those who have joined us in watching. Thank you very much.
Thank you.